All right, welcome to the Wellness at Your Home podcast. I'm here with my co-host, as always, Jack Baccaro, and we have a very special treat today. This is we're doing something a little bit different, but then I believe it dives into the realm of wellness and what we normally talk about. Before we get into it, as always, this episode and this podcast is sponsored by Orange County Pools and Spas, Wellness New England, and Wellness at Your Home. You can find us at orangecountypools.com, wellnessnewengland.com, and wellnessatyourhome.com. But now, being done with that fun stuff, we have a very special guest like I talked about today. We have a gentleman who hails originally from Kingston, New York, Mr. Vince Fisher. How are you today?
I'm fine, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. And again, we told you that this is a special podcast. We're doing something a little different. So Vince is a local musician. We are obviously celebrating St. Patty's Day. And as everybody know, Vinny Muscatello and Mr. Jack Baccaro are as Irish as they come. So we thought it was very fitting to have a special St. Patty's Day podcast. All joking aside, for those of you who know me well, know that I'm half Irish, half Italian, and Jack is half Irish, half Italian as well too. So we're going to get into some good insight, some good different things about the music. Vince performs Irish music as part of his repertoire. You perform other type of music as well too.
Yes, I do, yeah. Depends on where I'm playing.
Depends on where you're playing the night. So we're going to dive into all that. So let's talk a little bit about who you are, where you're from. So you're born and bred in Kingston, New York, right?
Yep.
And you were a special ed teacher?
Special ed teacher at the Rondat Valley Middle School for 34 plus years.
Wow. What sort of made you get into special ed?
Well, in 1968, when I graduated from college as a social studies teacher, there were no social studies jobs available. But I was fortunate enough to have a coordinating teacher who was a visiting professor from Fairfax County, Virginia, which was a very progressive district at the time. She offered me a job. If she was going back, she was an assistant superintendent there. And I just decided I wanted to stay here. So she guided me towards special education, because back then there weren't nearly enough special education teachers to go around. And she gave me some things to read. I did some research, and I thought, yeah, I could do this. I could give this a try. I met a great principal and superintendent, and they said they would hire me if I promised to work for the whole year and not leave in the middle of the year for a social studies position. I promised to stay for the year, and I stayed for 34.
Wow. So, I mean, obviously, everything happens for a reason. And obviously that's a sort of pivotal moment when you go from thinking you're going to be a social studies teacher to, two completely different things when you're going to be teaching social studies and then going into the world of special ed. And then in the time period in which you did it, was it, and I would imagine it's also, typically it's female dominated. To have a male voice in a special ed field would probably be be a wonderful thing. And
I have to think that that's part of what they thought when they hired me. Yeah.
Was it so? The type of special ed kids that you dealt with from the beginning to the end, did it change?
Yes, that was kind of the dark ages of special education in school. I don't know if you're old enough to remember special ed in school. It was, for me, it was that bunker at the end of the building where all the kids that just didn't get along with everybody else got dumped. And that changed a lot. Even by the time I was doing it, at least they were trying to diagnose what might be the problem with the learning. And but I was alone in the classroom. I had 15 students, and there were kids that ranged from mentally retarded to learning disabled to emotionally disturbed. So I had them all. And by the time I retired, there were a whole lot more specialties that were taking and making the situation better. And also, it became more inclusive. Kids weren't taken out of classes. They were helped to stay in classes. And the last 2 years, I became a consultant where I didn't have a class of my own. I consulted with other teachers, helping them with the kids that were in their class that were special ed kids.
So interesting. And I'm always curious about the about the journey. So now for the past, 20 plus years, you've been performing. And was music a thing that was always important in your life from when you were young, whether it was listening or playing? Have you always played? Tell us a story how you got involved with music specifically.
When I was a teenager and late teens, and started hanging out with my friend Tom and some other people. They all played. They played guitar and they sang, and we used to get together. And I'd try to sing and couldn't sing on key. Very self-conscious about it. Couldn't play an instrument. So finally, he took me aside, and I bought a guitar from a friend in college for $5 because he needed money, and the guitar was awful. But I persevered and learned to play well enough so that it took me 3 months to learn to play one song on the guitar, and then another 3 months to have the courage to sing while I was playing. But once I got over that hump, I was just a maniac about wanting to learn new things. So whenever anybody was playing, I'd say, "Show me that, show me that, show me that."
How was learning how to play like back in those days? Because nowadays, I mean, I tried to learn guitar. It's pretty hard to do. But like, I could just literally type in on YouTube how to play X, Y, and Z song, and there's literally a tutorial on how to which chords.
I actually use them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. It's just crazy. I can't imagine like back in the day, you needed to learn how to read music to be able to learn the chords and stuff.
Well, no, not really. I can't read music.
Oh, really?
I understand it. I know, where the sharps and the flats ought to go, but I can't read while I'm playing. I can't do that. I can figure out a tune sometimes, but my daughter can read music. Yeah. That's like another language.
It is another.
It's
language.
not the ABCs. It's different symbols.
I think also, and refer back to your question with that too, and Vince will get into it probably a little bit more. But even when I was younger, I mean, I'm 44 now, so my coming of age was the late 80s, 90s. There was really no internet even when and all my buddies who played it was just listening and trying it out.
Having them show you, how do I form a D chord, and they'll show you, and then how do I form a G chord, and then you practice switching back and forth.
Gotcha.
That's how I learned.
Wow.
And then lots of practice as well too.
Somebody was doing a finger picking, and I thought, could I learn that? And he showed me. This guy had the patience of a saint. Showed me this, and then I found myself, even when I didn't have a guitar, on the inner seam of my jeans, I'd be picking away, trying to practice that.
There you go.
That's any way you could.
Any way you could, and you
drove my mother crazy.
I'm sure. That's it. Well, we've all driven our mother crazy with different things, right?
I don't think so.
No, you're not at all.
I don't think so. No.
But I sort of think you grew up in a really special time. You said you're a gentleman of what young age?
Well, we have something in common. You're double fours. I'm double sevens.
You're double sevens, double fours.
As of last Sunday. Yeah.
Wow. And you really, happy birthday, belated birthday. You grew up in an era where, I mean, we were coming out of World War II, and then there was just this freaking renaissance with Elvis, then the Beatles, which is probably more, and then in the 70s, which was your prime.
I remember when I was born in 1947, so when Elvis started, I was 9-10 years old.
Wow.
I could listen to the radio and hear him. Yeah.
Wow.
And have my grandmother and grandfather say, "Turn that off."
Were you a Beatles guy?
I was.
Yeah.
I was. More than the Rolling Stones, but now I think I'm more of a Rolling Stones guy.
So it's flipped as you've gotten older.
Yeah.
Were you heavy into the music scene during the 70s and late 60s?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it, and was glad to be able to get to see some of it up close too, because I lived in Kingston, which is only about 10 miles from Woodstock, and we used to save up a couple bucks and go up town and where Route 28 goes out of Kingston and hitchhike up to Woodstock, and you could see back then famous folk singers, Dave Van Ronk, Ramblin' Jack Elliott, Tom Paxton, for $2.50 at the Woodstock Playhouse.
Wow,
it was amazing.
What would you say what would you say your sort of where your inspiration of music comes from? Is there a particular genre or person that you can look back and say that's where it all started? That's who it was for me.
Folk singer Tom Paxton.
Okay.
He was a topical folk songwriter, and he wrote songs about Vietnam. He wrote songs about corporations. he actually, his story is really cool because when he was in the Army, he was I guess he did well on his aptitude tests, and he decided he was going to be a clerk. So he was in typing class, learning to type, and he was, instead of typing the red fox jumped over whatever that sentence is that has all the letters in it, he was typing lyrics to songs that he was thinking about. And he wrote a song called My Dog is Bigger Than Your Dog, and Kennel Ration bought it. And he had enough money to buy a VW microbus and drive around the country promoting himself and singing his songs. And he became a really famous folk singer from the 60s folk revival.
Wow.
He was my favorite guy.
So he's the one that started it all out.
Yeah.
And we're now, so, now we're here in special for St. Patty's Day. And we were talking before off mic, and, we were talking about how, I grew up in a very, I was half Irish, half Italian, and I had both extremes. So I was very, had the, great side of the Irish culture that I was engulfed in and loved and enjoyed, and then the Italian side of the culture. So, growing up and being engulfed in the Irish culture, being involved in St. Patty's Day and all of those traditions. And we were just talking about how you got involved in doing Irish music. So I'd be curious to learn that.
I'm not exactly sure how. Where I grew up in Kingston was heavily settled by Irish immigrants who came there to work in the cement industry, and then they worked on the D&H Canal, and then they worked on all those kind of things, the railroad that went through. And so there were a lot of Irish influences in my growing up, although I didn't realize it at the time. Our parish church was St. Mary's, and the patron saint of St. Mary's is St. Patrick. And there was always an Irish party going on at the school, for fundraisers and things like that. So I heard the music, and I liked it, but I never really thought I'd get into doing what I do. And then it just started. I think my friend Tom had something to do with it. He has an affinity for the Irish stuff too. And so I just kept learning as many new Irish songs as I could. And I met Garvan, I don't know how many years ago now, but I said to him, I'd like to try to play here. And he said, let's give it a try, something like that. And how much do you get? I didn't know how much. I didn't know how much to ask. So he took good care of me, and about 2 years ago I started playing there every Saturday night. And so I love it. But as far as getting into the music, once I did, and I wish I could tell you exactly how that happened, but once I did, I just started learning. I think I have a repertoire of probably 130 songs, different Irish tunes.
Wow.
And that's not even a dent in what's available. I try to learn one every week. It's amazing the wealth of material there to use.
It's pretty cool too, because we were talking about the Irish culture and the lyrics, which I'm really excited, guys. Vince is our first musical guest, so we have some special stuff, some performances that you guys are going to see. We'll introduce in a couple minutes. But that traditional Irish music and the sort of the messaging that comes across when you perform.
Yeah, and every song has a story, like you said, and that's how another way that I've learned a lot about Irish culture, because you say, well, I wonder where this came from, and in the song I sang, who the heck is Trevelyan, and I know who that is now, and because I looked it up, and that's how I gained an understanding of a lot of this stuff through the songs.
Awesome, and I think speaking, let's I think we should go right into the first song right now. Let our audience hear the Vince's amazing talent. So we're gonna go right to a song he performed for us. It's a traditional Irish song, one that everybody knows. You said you learned this in 4th grade.
This is in the music books in 4th grade when the teacher handed out the music books. It said turn to page 38. Molly Malone was there.
There you go.
Well, there we go. So let's listen to some Molly Malone, and we'll see you back in a few minutes.
In Dublin's fair city, where the girls are so pretty, I first set my eyes on sweet Molly Malone, as she wheeled her wheelbarrow through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. Alive, alive, oh. Alive, alive, oh. Crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. She was a fishmonger, sure 'twas no wonder, for so were her father and mother before. And they all wheeled their barrows through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. Alive, alive, oh. Alive, alive, oh. Crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. Well, she died of a fever, and no one could save her. That was the end of sweet Molly Malone. Now a ghost wheels her barrow through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. Alive, alive, oh. Alive, alive, oh. Crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh.
All right, so we're back. That was Molly Malone by Vince. It has a good story in there. So, being based on the song, we'll keep it in the same concept. How do you balance the Irish tradition of like the old? I know you said you learned it in 4th grade and the old stories, and then how do you add your own little like twist or flair onto it?
Well, I do with every song I learn, whether it's Irish or not. I got to play it my way. And, but that's a pretty straightforward song, so it's hard to do much other than sing your best and play it cleanly if you can.
Gotcha.
That's pretty much it.
What would you say Molly Malone is about?
Well, it's about what it says. It's about a street monger in Dublin, and there were many of them. And they, there were street vendors, and she walked around. This is legend. I don't know if it's fact or not, but she walked around pushing her barrow and selling seafood, cockles, mussels, and whatever. It's a neat story about Molly Malone. There's a statue of her, or at least a statue of what people thought of her in Ireland. It used to be right on the end of the Halfpenny Bridge, which goes across the Liffey. I don't know where it is now. They moved it, but it's very risque. She's got a very low-cut blouse on, and the Dublin slang, they call her the tart with the cart.
Oh, Jack's going to see the statue now.
Yeah, I'll be there. Have you been to Ireland?
I've been 4 times.
Nice.
Yeah, different places each time, and loved it. Sometimes to play golf, sometimes to sightsee with my family, my wife, and our friends.
Golfing in Ireland sounds. I know you are planning a work trip for all of us to Ireland on his
100%.
expense. So
you got to play. You got to play the links, right? It's all links courses over
Not
there?
all links, but
okay.
the links courses are there, especially the ones right by the water, wherever the water is.
oh, that's nice.
I would not. Have you ever played a links course before?
I don't know. What that
So a links course is literally there's no room for give. You got hole going this way, hole going this way. So when you have a mean slice like I do, it is not a friendly course because I literally when I play golf, so I have to line up this way. So I play my slice. So as it comes right down. So I've done a links course maybe like once or twice in my life, and it was the most. I'm already stressed out because I'm not. Golf is one of those games that you have to play consistently.
Yep.
In order
You're absolutely right.
to maintain. Like you could take I've been golfing since I've been 7, 8 years old, but I'm still the worst golfer there ever is because unless you play it consistently all the time, it's one of those things. So you have to play a links course because you gotta concentrate, make sure you hit that ball straight.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be rough. I went the other day and it was brutal.
Where'd you go? Right to Platico?
I went to Turtle Creek. Yeah,
Turtle Creek.
just to go to the driving range, and
I
it was
played there
bad.
once.
It's a nice course. It's just
On a links course, there are very few trees.
Yes.
There's just grass this high.
huh. Oh, that's gonna be fun trying to find your ball through there. Oh man.
How often do you play?
I don't play enough.
Don't play enough.
No. I used to. Back in the 90s, I could probably say I could shoot in the 80s most of the time.
Oh wow.
But now, if I break 100, I'm happy because I don't play. I don't play enough. But
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, you have to play all the time. When are you going? You're going to start going out. So you played a lot last summer.
I did. Towards the end of the summer, I played 3 hours every Wednesday consistently for like 2 months straight. Got pretty good, but you get pretty good at doing bad form, so then you have to go recorrect it, and then it's just a whole reset. So
right.
I went the other day trying to work on the new form, and it was bad.
Was that before the haircut or after the haircut?
That was before. So now that I got the buzz, I'm going to be shooting in the low 40s.
Not to go off topic over here, but for those of you guys who watch the show regularly and see Jack on TikTok and Instagram doing all his stuff, he's chopped off all your hair there.
I did. Listen, this is what being bedridden for a week will do. You just get up and you're like, let's do something different.
Jen, do you have a picture?
I do.
Oh, you have a picture we can show everybody?
Yeah.
So you know what? As soon as Jack sent his picture to Jen, we noticed a resemblance, and I'm curious if everybody else sees it. Could pop that up, Jen?
Oh, I'm gonna edit it in later.
Oh, you're gonna edit
Yeah.
it? Oh, okay, so we're gonna pop it up now and take a look. Okay. Who's the character?
It's Sid from Toy Story.
Sid from Toy Story.
I'm happy that this is live recorded for you guys because my HR complaints for this place is a long list, and this is clear in HD. There's proof. I don't even need a lawyer at this point.
All right, so you guys are now seeing it's popping up. I mean, we're not seeing it live here, but it's gonna pop up and you're gonna see.
Of course,
a
I
picture.
sent goofy pictures. It's not even like a straight on picture. It's just me trying to look funny. So it just adds on to it.
Well,
Yeah, it was bad.
that's what happens.
I'll get it back. It's all right.
You'll get back.
That Ireland trip on your expense is gonna pay for it. So it's all good.
So, Jack, now that we're talking about Jack, you also grew up, your dad's Italian and your mom's obviously Irish. Did you guys sort of have anything, were you sort of involved in the Irish side of the family culturally? I know your mom recently went to Ireland over the past few years and she always talks about how amazing the trip was.
Yeah, she said when she went there, she just had this religious experience of being there, and just I'm sure everybody does, but for her it was really tuned in. Yeah. Definitely towards St. Patrick's Day for sure. My mom every year corned beef, cabbage, the whole nine. I'm a picky eater, so I never really eat it, but yeah, she's very into it. My grandpa's very, very into it. His parents came to New York City from I don't know what part of Ireland, but directly from there. So
they don't serve corned beef in Ireland.
It's an American thing.
Ham and cabbage.
really, see, I'm picky, so I just
I actually think you'd really enjoy. I haven't been to Ireland yet, but so the pub culture in which you play in on the Irish see a pub as a family thing. If you go from what I've been told, I haven't been to, but I've been to plenty of Irish pubs here. Whether you go down to McLean Ave, or in the city or locally, it's a very family-oriented thing. It's not for guys to just go down and drink. It's
right.
You go around and you listen to music as a family. You
go into a pub on a Sunday morning, after church. They bring the whole family. They have Irish breakfast.
I can get behind
music.
that.
Yeah.
It's amazing. There's a certain energy that when you go into a traditional Irish pub and you have families there and music is playing, it's absolutely amazing. Now, I like your mom too. I want to go to Ireland. I feel very connected and to the Irish culture, and you've been to Ireland before. It's a very spiritual and magical place.
And they seem to really love Americans, especially Americans from New York.
Sure.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, very.
It's where it's one of the main places that Irish immigrants came to.
Yeah, when I was in Portugal, there was I don't know the name, but a well-known Irish pub there, and that was the best place on the street. Portugal's nightlife is awesome. Just believe it or not, most people are partying on the streets. They go back into the bar to get a drink, and then they're back on the street. Yeah. Every single person was in the Irish pub dancing, they were holding arms, doing all that, and that was cool to see.
They're jigging,
doing the Irish jig. Pub in Rome, Barcelona, Mallorca. I found 2 in Dubrovnik, Croatia.
Nice.
Where else? In Spain, in Paris rather. And there's a song called "The Irish Pub," and it's about there's one in every country, or there's one in every town.
So how many drinks is it going to take you to drink, and then you'd be like, you know what, these guys are not doing it well, and you grab a guitar and you go up there and do your thing for the whole bar?
I would never do that to anybody else. I will go ask them if I could play.
Have you done that?
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I've played in 3 or 4 different pubs in Ireland.
That's awesome.
Just 1 or 2 songs.
Sweet.
I played in a pub in Medina, Ohio. We were my cousin and I were driving to Montana as a favor for another friend, and we stopped and found an Irish pub there, and we went and had something to eat, and the guy was playing, and he was doing great. Came over, and I introduced myself. I said, mind if I play one? And I played Just Another Irish in America.
There you go.
And that's a great segue.
I was just gonna say.
This next song is an original that was written by a friend of yours and you,
Tom Kiernan.
Tom Kiernan.
Yeah, he was best man at my wedding. He's my daughter's godfather. And he's kind of my guru, my mentor. And he's a great songwriter. And he wrote this song. And it's if you listen to the verses, it starts out with someone leaving Ireland, probably never to make it back because of the famine. And then the next verse is what happened when they got here. Most of them got here in the mid-1800s, and the Civil War was going on. So if they landed in Savannah, they got gray uniforms. If they landed in New York, they got blue uniforms, and they actually became fierce fighters during the Civil War. The Fighting 69th, the 69th Brigade from New York became famous, and because at the Battle of Bull Run, the only group that didn't run were the Irish group, and they stayed and fought. But the whole thing is really cool, because the next verse is, what did they do when they saw a sign in the window and they were there? No Irish need apply, because they were discriminated against when they first came. They learned to dig canals. They worked hard. They dug canals. They laid railroad tracks. They painted. They did it, whatever they could, and they became well known. Started speaking. Started thinking about policies, and got elected. I mean, when John Kennedy got elected, the Irish were very, very happy. Mm. And then the last verse is more contemporary, and it's the fact that the New York City Fire Department is really has a heritage of Irish members, and it's very diverse now, which I think is wonderful, and it's a great organization. But it points out that the Irish became firefighters.
Very, very, it's very rooted in the Irish culture. Let's take a listen. You guys are going to absolutely love this performance, and we'll talk about it some more after it's done. Take a listen.
Well, he left his home and he never looked back. With everything he had and a sack on his back, went down past the fields and the moors to the sea. He's going to America, he's gonna be free. He said goodbye to Dublin, goodbye to Cork, hello to Savannah, Boston, and New York. The people all said as he walked off the dock, he's just another Irish in America. Just another Irish in America. Just another wearing of the green. Just another Irish in America. Gonna die for the dream beneath his feet. Well, they dressed him up in blue and they dressed him up in gray. They handed him a rifle and sent him on his way. Freedom has a price and you're the one to pay. He went marching into battle saying, clear the way. He was there at Iwo Jima, he was there at Bull Run, there at the Bulge in the battle for Saigon. The little white crosses all say the same. He's just another Irish in America. Just another Irish in America. Just another wearing of the green. Just another Irish in America. Gonna die for the dream beneath his feet. He learned to dig canals and he learned to lay track. He learned to build a future with his brain in his back. And when he saw the sign, no Irish need apply, he went tripping down the street with a twinkle in his eye. And he learned to put out fires and he learned to walk a beat. He learned to get elected with the words he learned to speak. When he took the White House, everybody said, he's just another Irish in America. Just another Irish in America. Just another wearing of the green. Just another Irish in America. Gonna die for the dream beneath his feet. And on on the terrible day when the towers came down. He was there in the middle of the desolation round, dashing through the fires, leading the way, saying, "Follow me, boys, there's a lot of lives to save." And when the dust and the smoke and the ash had cleared, he was found in the rubble with our own worst fears. Just another Irish in America. Just another Irish in America. Just another wearing of the green. Just another Irish in America. Gonna die for the dream beneath his feet. Gonna die for the dream beneath his feet. Gonna die for the dream beneath his feet.
All right, so we are back. That was Just Another Irish in America.
Loved it.
So the way we did this episode is he pre-performed and then we started the interview, and that was like 30 minutes ago, and that chorus has still been stuck in my head for the last 25, 30 minutes. And to me, that song is really what music's about. Like, I don't know if, I know you were doing your thing, but I was sitting here, I had my eyes closed, and the whole point of, like, the whole butt of the joke of the show is I can never focus on anything. But I sat there, I pictured, like, getting the uniforms, coming to America, laying railroad track. I literally could see it. And to me, that's what music's about. So it's definitely a good song. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. And we're going to plug it in. I know it's on Amazon, and I think a YouTube link we're going to put in the description of this so you guys can check it out too.
Yeah. So the line, and I don't want to butcher it. We were talking about it before about the green underneath the feet. Can you sort of?
Yeah, it's just a notice of how important being here and being successful was and is to Irish folks, that they would fight for this country. They would fight for, because most of them that came early came from an oppressed situation, in a starving situation. And even though they were discriminated against and treated poorly, they still thought it was better than where they came from, and they worked to make it better, and they succeeded.
Yeah, that's what it is, working to make it better. Yeah, people, I know we touched on it briefly before, but people forget that, the Irish were not treated well when they first came to
No, they weren't.
nor were most immigrants when they first came into the U.S., whether
I'm glad you said that.
the
because that's
Italians,
true.
the
Italians, Germans.
Yeah, everybody was not treated well. So it was a process of them getting used to them, inserting their culture, and making this country a great place. And very fortunate, in the Northeast, that we're filled with so much differences from all across the world, and then growing up with that culture. I mean, one of the favorite things my friends talk about at my wedding. So my uncle Michael was NYPD, heavily involved with the Emerald Society, and one of his gifts to all of his nieces and nephews was he would pay to have the NYPD pipes and drums come to the wedding. So here we are, and this happened with all my cousins and his kids. Once we got married, there'd be a segment where the NYPD pipes and drums came in, and it was always everybody's favorite part because we got to experience it all the time. But my friends that were just friends of mine, they come to the wedding and they'd be like, "Oh my God, that's absolutely amazing." There's something really magical about the bagpipe. It's such a beautiful instrument.
Yeah.
The fiddle plays a huge part in Irish music as well too.
Yep.
And then just sort of my favorite type of performances are guys like you, a guitar and a mic. There's something very special about that.
Well, that's my favorite kind of performer too. That's really why I felt comfortable doing it. But a story about the pipes. That I used to have a business at the Granite Hotel in Accord.
The Granite?
I had a health club there.
Oh, wait, that was like the people would go there on the weekends, the Granite. My parents and my Uncle Michael, they also used to do that.
This
the
was
Granite.
back in the 90s.
Yes.
Early 90s.
Yeah, the Granite. Holy cow.
And every year they would have a Piper's Ball. And, having a business there and getting along well with the owner, he would invite my wife and me to the Piper's Ball. And what it was the New York City Police Department pipe band, the Sanitation Department pipe band, the Emerald Society pipe band, the Hibernian pipe band, all the pipe bands from all the different departments would come to the Granite. And one would be the host. They alternated being host. And after dinner, that band would march in, form a circle, and do a whole concert right there. And they'd finish up with Danny Boy, and everybody'd have tears in their eyes. And then they'd march out, and then all of them would come marching in and marching through, and they'd just go around in circles, and like 6 or 7 different bands. And they all wore tuxedo tops with their kilts. It was really cool because it was a ball.
Wow.
That was really fun. And I got to do that 3 or 4 different times. It was great every time.
That's so fun. I mean, you literally brought back like the memories of like I said, with my mom, my dad, and the whole family going to the Granite Hotel.
Yeah.
For those different things.
Yeah.
Wow, I forgot about that place. It's also like we had, so people don't realize too, is like you had the Irish Catskills just north of us as well too, right outside like Freehold and Greenville, Durham. They had the Irish Catskills.
East Durham is
Yes,
called the Irish Isles or the Irish Alps.
The Irish Alps.
Okay.
They have a big festival every year.
Yeah, so you would have a lot of people immigrants, when they settled in New York City, then they would go north for vacation. And the Catskills, you had the Jewish Catskills, you had the Irish Catskills, you had even where we are in Walk Hill and Plattekill, that was considered like the Spanish Catskills. Everybody had their little area.
Yeah, and it was where they came in the summertime to get out of the hot city and spend. And the family would come and spend quite a while. The husbands would go back to work on Monday morning, and then come back on Friday and spend the weekend with the family.
It's interesting to see too, because you said you grew up in Kingston, and Kingston is a lot like Beacon. There's a massive resurgence happening in these towns, these river towns that have been around
This
forever.
one especially, man. This place is amazing.
Yeah, Beacon's come a long way.
Yeah. I'm so happy that the town crier moved here. That's a great place.
Where was that? That was somewhere. Where was that?
It started out in Beekman,
Wow.
and then it moved to Pleasant Valley for a while, and then I forgot where it was just before here. But here is great. They have good parking, and they have great stage and everything.
They do. Have you ever been to the town crier? So it's a great music venue. It's a restaurant and music venue right down the road, and it was sort of in trouble, like most places were during COVID. It was
Sure.
tough, but if you ever want, they have live music and they have a great stage and a big room where they have.
Really?
I mean, it's really, really a great spot.
They have a part out front that's free, and they pay entertainers to play their local entertainers, and then they have big names come and play in the back on the stage.
I wonder if Ethan performs there.
That's a
One
possibility.
of my friends does a lot of live music for Beacon. He does it at the food hall down there. He's one of the people down, but he's all over Beacon.
Ethan, what's his last name?
Levy? Shout out to you, Ethan.
I don't know. I don't recognize that.
Gotcha.
I might recognize his name.
I gotcha.
So you play in Garvan's on Saturday night. Every Saturday night.
Every Saturday night, knock on wood. He did tell some people. I went to a show that he had there Tuesday, which was great too. Aoife Scott. She. I don't know if you're familiar with Mary Black, who's a very famous Irish singer. This is her niece, and she had a fiddle player and a guitar player, and it was great. And he was introducing me to people, and he said, "And this is Vince Fisher. He plays here every Saturday night. He cannot be terminated. That's his way."
There you go.
Well, you're gonna have so you're gonna be playing tomorrow night.
Yes, I asked him to put that in writing, by the way. But
Well, that's actually perfect. So this episode is gonna go out tomorrow night. So it will line up. So everybody watching or listening to this episode, if you are in the New Paltz area, Vince is going to be performing Saturday night, which when this airs, it will be tonight. So go check him out. What time do you
I
perform?
start at 7:30, but I usually start early.
Okay,
I tell people, don't tell Garvan this, but I would do this for nothing. I love it. But I'm playing Sunday too there.
It's probably going to be packed.
There's a sister restaurant right next door by the golf course called Maggie Mae's,
Yes.
and I'm going to be playing there at 11 o'clock in the morning for 2-3 hours, and then I'm going to go over to Garvan's and play for the rest of the afternoon.
So you're playing Saturday and Sunday
Yeah.
in Garvan's and Mary Mays, you said?
Maggie Mays.
Maggie Mays, that's right. So make sure you check them out. So now we have one more song that you guys are going to listen to right now. this you would consider in your introduction like a rebel song.
Yes, it's not a rocking rebel song, but it does have that sentiment, the rebel sentiment. It's called "The Fields of Athenry." It's about a young man who gets caught stealing corn so his family could eat during the famine, and he gets arrested and put on a prison ship bound for Australia. And the song is a lament with his wife saying goodbye to him.
All right, let's listen up. This one's a good one.
By a lonely prison wall, I heard a young girl calling. Michael, they are taking you away, for you stole Trevellion's corn, so the young might see the morn. Now a prison ship lies waiting in the bay. Low lie the fields of Athenry, where once we watched a small free bird fly. Our love was on the wing, we had dreams and songs to sing. Now it's lonely round the fields of Athenry. By a lonely prison wall, I heard a young man calling. Nothing matters, Mary, when you're free. Against the famine and the crown, I rebelled, they ran me down. Now you must raise our child with dignity. Low lie the fields of Athenry, where once we watched the small free birds fly. Our love was on the wing, we had dreams and songs to sing. Now it's lonely round the fields of Athenry. By a lonely harbor wall, she watched the last star falling. As the prison ship sailed out against the sky, sure she'll wait and hope and pray for her love in Botany Bay. Now it's lonely round the fields of Athenry. Low lie the fields of Athenry, where once we watched the small free birds fly. Our love was on the wing, we had dreams and songs to sing. Now it's lonely round the fields of Athenry. It's so lonely round the fields of Athenry.
All right, so we're back. That was our third song here. So we're going to crop it in, but we just had a conversation about what the song was. So just going back to that.
The Fields of Athenry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a rebel song, like you said, but has, like you introduced the song, it's has a ballad feel to it as well too. And when we were talking about prior to the show starting, is that you say there's a lot of football clubs.
That have adopted that song as their go team song.
Nice.
And to hear 10,000 people singing the chorus is it's inspirational.
Can't imagine.
It's got to be. You probably get just one of those moments when everybody's singing. And then we were just talking about also the Black and Tan. Can you sort of give us a refresh on that again?
There was a paramilitary group formed after World War One by the British, and they put criminals who were released from jail, and they put Army veterans in there, and they were very oppressive and cruel, and they were fought against and opposed, but they did a lot of damage and hurt a lot of people. But once they weren't there anymore, this song, "Come Out You Black and Tans," is about a man who comes home from the pub and is in the street hollering at some of his neighbors that he knows were in that organization, and screaming at them and challenging them to come out.
And what was that line that you stated before too?
Well, the first verse is, "Come out, you black and tans, come out and fight me like a man. Show your wives how you won medals down in Flanders. Tell them how the IRA made you run like hell away from the green and lovely lanes of Kilishandra."
Love it. It's so cool, and that's the beauty of sort of Irish music and folk music in general too. Is that it's telling a story of a time and a place and a struggle, and to sort of and it brings you there. You feel the emotion of it, and when we talk about wellness, music is such an important part of wellness. We were talking about before the show how for many people for people all over the world it's you just put headphones on, you go to your room and you just listen to something, and it's something that can make you feel sad, or it's something that can make you happy. It's something that makes you think, and it plays such an important part. People are always like, why are the arts so important? And they're important because they invoke emotion, and we're human.
Especially too, touching back on that 10,000 people singing the same song. That's that collective effervescence I was telling you about. So there's this psychologist named Emil Durkheim, and he did all these studies about people's brain wavelengths when you're in a group, and whether it's church, whether it's 10,000 people screaming the same song, like your sense of emotion gets so heightened, your brain levels go up, and it's just everyone's on the same wavelength and they're connected. And like hearing that is like, obviously it because it happens subconsciously, but when you put studies behind it, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that interests me. But the one thing, I would love to be the artist that's created the music and is singing and listening to his own work being repeated by 10. That's probably got to be a godlike feeling.
I can't tell you who wrote it. I honestly don't know. Yeah, it's a famous Irish song.
Yeah, well, how do you feel when you're sitting there and you're jamming out at the bar?
I feel whatever song I'm singing gives me some emotion whatsoever, especially these Irish tunes. There are songs about every county in Ireland. There are songs about almost every town in Ireland. There are songs about a girl, a favorite girl in Ireland. There are songs about, about the rebellion, the 1916 Easter Rebellion. There are lots of songs about that. And they all carry emotion with them.
Yeah.
Songs that, like, there's a song called "Mary from Dunlow," and Dunlow is in Donegal, and it's her boyfriend singing to her, "I'm sorry I have to leave. Your father wouldn't let me stay. Your cruel father made me leave," and he's wishing he could come back and so forth. But there's a lot of feeling in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, that's one of the reasons. Like again, I think I feel so connected because when I hear these songs, I love history. I love I love looking back at my family tree, and when you're connected to a culture, I think back, so it was my on the Irish side, it was my great grandparents that immigrated to the country. My grandfather was, I believe I'm a mess. He's from Mayo, and then my grandma. So that was Lavelle. That's my mom's maiden name. My grandfather was Lavelle. My grandmother was Duffy, and her family was from County Monaghan. And it just, we're how do I say this? We're part of one, big story, and you don't know where you're going until you look back as where you've been.
And if you go to one of those places and say, "This is where my family's from," they will greet you with open arms. They will love you just like you were there. You're part of the family. I'll tell you a story along that line. My wife and I were in Kilkenny, and I was walking down the street. Her maiden name is Lanigan, and we're walking down the street, and there's Lanigan's Pub.
Oh,
And her father's family were from Tipperary. His heritage is from Tipperary. And so she hates to be the center of attention. But I kind of played a trick on her. We went in and sat down and we had some lunch. And I saw a man over on the other side of the room, and he was working on the books. I assumed he was the owner. And I went over and said, are you the owner? And he said, yes. I said, would you say hi to my wife? She's a Lanigan. Up he jumps. He goes and gets his wife, and he goes and gets his brother, and he gets whoever else is in the family. They're coming up. They're hugging and kissing my wife. You're a Lanigan. You're a Lanigan. Where are you from? And she said, well, my father's people are from Tipperary. Tipperary. We're from Tipperary. This is not a Kilkenny pub. This is a Tipperary pub in Kilkenny.
Wow.
And it was great. They didn't know us. And as soon as he heard the last name, he came over and welcomed her with open arms.
Well, the Irish culture is rooted in family and faith. So it's that stories like that are amazing, and that's what makes me so excited to go over there and just to experience what my ancestors experienced, to see the place where I come from. And it's such a funny story. And my friend Joanne Walsh Mahoney will appreciate this, because we used to battle as teenagers. It used to be in a good way, in a funny way. But so recently I had done, like the ancestry DNA, like whatever, 10 years ago. And it was funny to find out, because again, Vinnie Muscatello, I obviously look Italian more than I do Irish. And there was always this big joke. So when I did ancestry, again, we know my dad is 100% Italian. My mother's 100% Irish. But when we did the ancestry, so there was like 1% French on the Italian side. So that makes me more Irish than Italian.
All right.
Boom! Vinnie Muscatello is 51% Irish and 50% Irish, 49% Italian, and 1% French.
So you just take the O from the end and put it on the front.
That's right. And it's funny too that you're Vincent is not only an Italian name; it actually has roots in the Irish culture as well, too. In some instances, with that as well too. I mean, it's not. And my kids are all. I love Gaelic names and Irish names. My son is Caden. My daughter is Kendall, which I think is a little bit more English than Irish. And then
My daughter's Brenna.
Brenna. Yep. And my other daughter's Devin.
She loves it now, but she hated it as a kid because she had to keep correcting people. It's not Brenda, it's Brenna.
The way it's spelled and the way it's pronounced.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful culture. I want to encourage everybody to go see Vince in New Paltz. Do you have a Facebook page where they can see where you're performing or anything like that outside of?
I do, but I'm not very good at it. But I do post sometimes where I'm playing. There is a post right now on my regular page about Garvan's.
Okay, so if you don't mind, you can also friend request Vince on Facebook and hear where he's playing. But just know he's a regular at Garvan's in New Paltz. Every Saturday night starts at 7:30 regularly, but you said you start a little early
I
sometimes.
usually do, yeah.
All right, so we're going to go check out Vince and Garvan's soon.
Absolutely.
Because I'd love to hear more of your music. I am so appreciative of you coming and performing today and talking a little bit about your experience and about how you got into Irish music. I think this is going to be a popular podcast.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Definitely. I don't know how long we've been doing it, but it was awesome. And I definitely want another song before he goes.
As down the glen one Easter morn, to City Fair rode I. Their armed lines of marching men, squadrons passed me by. No pipe did hum, nor battle drum did sound its loud tattoo, but the Angelus bell or the Liffey swell rang out through the foggy dew. Right proudly high o'er Dublin town they hung out the flag of war. 'Twas better to die 'neath an Irish sky than at Sufla or Sudden Bar. And from the plains of royal Meath, strong men came hurrying through, while Britannia's Huns crack made perfidious albion real. With lead and rain, 7 tongues of flame did shine o'er the lines of steel. By each shining blade, a prayer was said that to Ireland her sons be true. And when morning broke, still the war flag shook out its folds in the foggy dew. Was England bade our wide heath go, that small nations might be free, but their lonely graves are by Sula's waves, or the fringe of the great North Sea. Oh, had they died by Pierce's side, or had fought with cattle grew, their names we keep where the Fenians sleep, in the shroud of the foggy dew. The bravest fell, and the requiem bell rang mournfully and clear for those who died at the Easter tide in the springtime of the year. While the world did gaze with deep amaze at those fearless men but few, for the fight at freedom's light might shine through the foggy dew. Back through the glen I rode again. My heart with grief was sore, for I parted then with valiant men who I never shall see no more. But to and fro in my dreams I go, and I kneel and pray for you. For slavery fled, oh glorious dead, when you fell in the foggy dew.
All right, so we'll figure that out. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I had a pleasure for me too. It was an honor to be asked.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys, we'll see you soon, and who
Happy
knows,
St.
maybe-
Patrick's
Happy
Day,
St.
too.
Patrick's Day.
Happy
Take care.
St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you.